here we've got a brand new 2021 white Dodge Charger, and this thing's actually a rental car replacing Jay's Challenger because Jay's Challenger got hit.
It is amazing how unimpressive a 2021 Charger is bone stock. I'm actually surprised. But nonetheless, they gave me a Charger instead of a Toyota Corolla, so I'm happy.
In this video, we're gonna cover what you should do when you get into a car accident.
There are key steps that you should take in a specific order based off the decisions and how the accident goes, and we're going to highlight every single one in order, and you can just follow along in this video if you find yourself in that circumstance.
So the first step after you get into an accident is gonna be making sure that everyone in your car, you and your passengers, are okay. It's vital that you make sure you don't have any injuries, because if you do have any injuries, you wanna call 911 right away. But then after that, if everybody's okay, or if you've called 911, then after that, you gotta get out and check out the damage on your car.
The easiest way to check out the damage would be take pictures immediately, because especially if you have a phone where it will timestamp the photos, which most phones do, and that'll be perfect for proving to insurance or proving when the accident happened. It helps you all around. Take as many pictures as you can. Take pictures of both cars that were in the accident or multiple cars if there were that. And like I said, ultimately that will help you greatly.
After you make sure to take pictures of both cars, like Jay said, this is when you should decide if you are gonna call the police. Now, we mentioned before, you call 911 if you've got any injuries. So if you've done that, then you don't need to call the police again. But if you didn't call before, now you should take a look at the cars and decide whether or not to call.
There's a few reasons why you might want to actually call the police right after the accident happens, and that is for a few things. If the other person is hostile towards you, or maybe they tried to flee the scene, those are two reasons why you would want to get the cops there as soon as possible for your safety and so that you can have something to support your case. Another two reasons why it's important to call the cops at this point would be if the damage is really bad on your car, you want a legal person to have their eyes on it as like a third party to be able to vouch for you, whether it's in court or to your insurance or something along those lines. And then this goes without saying, but if somebody is severely injured, like we mentioned before, you should really be calling the police at that point and maybe 911 for an ambulance, because that's something that needs attention immediately. As much as we love cars, a car is just a car and people's lives are more important. So that is the number one thing where you would need to call the cops. However, the other three are important as well.
Another thing to note is that we actually recommend not admitting fault at the scene. There are a lot of factors that go into determining who was actually at fault for the accident, and it's safer to avoid assuming fault for the accident and allow the insurance professionals to determine who was at fault. If you admit that the accident was your fault at the scene, but then the insurance people determine later on that it was not your fault, it could still be held against you and you might be liable for the damages. The next step, if you've called the police, is gonna be wait for the police. They will help you get through the rest of your situation. But if you've decided to handle this yourself and you don't need the police help, now would be the time to exchange info with the other party or parties that were involved in the accident.
The info is critical that you need to get a few different things, because that'll cover things like the VIN of your car and the other person's car, as well as a few other details to do with their insurance, contact info, and things like that. The four things that I would focus on personally would be their phone number, their license, their registration for the car they were driving, as well as a picture of their insurance card if they have it, or maybe they can send you one at that point. Those 3 or 4 things will cover almost everything you need in order to contact their insurance, your insurance later on in the process, and that should have all the contact info as well.
And if you're waiting for the police will do this info exchange for you. They will take down everybody's information on a single sheet and then hand that to you afterwards, so you have it in one organized, neat spot. So, like I said, you can either get all the info yourself or wait for the police to arrive if you've called them.
At this point, if your car is driving and is safe to drive, you can drive it right home, drive it to a repair shop if you're friends with them as well. However, if that's not the case, then you might need to call a tow truck or get a ride home, something along those lines. And at that point, you could either file an insurance claim on the spot of the accident, or wait until you get home to file an insurance claim then as well. It could go either way, and most of the time, you can either do it through an app or online.
On top of filing an insurance claim, you should also fill out an accident report, an operator's report, or some other similar document that functions in the same way. These documents basically capture all of the information from the accidents that could possibly be relevant. It includes things about passengers, about drivers, about the vehicles themselves, where the accident happened, and etc. These documents will be important if the other party involved in the accident decides to file a claim against you down the road. So it's important that you make sure that you fill out a document like an accident report, operator's report, or something similar.
At this very moment, there's actually two different routes you can go. One would be going through the person who is at fault and through their insurance, or not through insurance at all, and ultimately one of the two parties pays out of pocket.
So if you've decided to go through insurance and not pay it out of pocket, both parties' insurance companies will take a look at all of the information from both insurance claims and accident reports and everything, and they will determine who is at fault for the accident. And then based off of that information, they will accept the claims.
So once your claim is accepted by the insurance company, you can actually use that claim number when you bring your car to a repair shop. And ultimately, everything that will be charged at that repair shop will either be charged to that claim and the insurance will pay it directly, or charged to the claim and the insurance will pay you and you ultimately pay the repair shop. Like I said, having that claim number is very important. So once you have that as well, you can get a rental car, which is what this 2021 Charger is for myself. And I threw it under that claim number. And so ultimately, once again, all the charges will be going to that claim and the insurance responsible for paying will pay towards that because I had that approved claim number. After the claim is accepted, potentially you've dropped it off at the repair shop, maybe not, or potentially you've gotten a rental car or not as well. The insurance company will need to do a damage appraisal on the car first. And then right after that happens, there will obviously be a damage appraisal from the shop that you're bringing it to as well. Typically, most of the time, the damage appraisal from the insurance company is a little low and they find more issues with the car at the repair shop. And so the repair shop will come back at the insurance company with a higher cost that they would need to pay. So at that point, it would be a reappraisal or something along those lines where the insurance company would then have to pay more. But that is what has to happen. The insurance has to appraise it, and then the shop would appraise it as well.
After that, you've just got to wait for the shop to finish doing the work on your car, and the insurance company will pay them or pay you to pay them, and then you'll get your car back and move on with your life. So the correct thing to do when you get into a car accident is to go through your insurance. It's the by the book way. It's going to be the safest, least risk, but going without insurance is a good method for accidents that are under $1,000 of damage. By going without insurance, it will prevent either party's insurance rates from going up and causing you to spend more there, and it won't put the accident on anybody's record. And so it does benefit both parties to not go through insurance, but it can be risky, so you gotta be careful with this method.
A perfect example of this would be if a lower class car, something like an older Corolla, hit another older Corolla. The damage on something like a small scrape on their bumper really isn't that much. Maybe you can get a bumper for cheap, or maybe you could just fix the scratch itself, or maybe you don't even care about having the scratch on your car. And at that point, that would be a perfect example where you don't have to go through insurance, because putting that claim on your record, having the accident be on your Carfax and things like that, that's really ultimately will hurt you. So at that point, just pay out of pocket and it would be better from there.
When the accident occurs, make sure that both parties agree on who is at fault for this accident. It'll help prevent problems later down the road when trying to get this paid for, get the repairs paid for. And at this point, if you don't know how much the damages will cost to get repaired, this is when you can bring it to a shop to get an estimate to know how much it'll cost.
Once it's at the shop, you can either get the payment from the individual specifically, have them pay the shop directly, whatever way works best to ultimately get the car fixed and paid for if that's what you want to do, rather than just dealing with the scratch, dent, or whatever else is wrong. At this point though, this is the end of this process, and hopefully your car either gets fixed or you're satisfied with the outcome. and you are back to driving the car or having a different car or something along those lines. And this, once again, is the way to not go through insurance and pay out of pocket for whoever's responsible at the accident.
So that just about covers it for what you need to do when you get into a car accident. That's pretty much everything that we could possibly think of to help you get through this process smoothly and easily.
The moral of the story here is two things. A, make sure everybody's safe in the entire situation throughout the entire process. And B, don't get into a car accident. It's just a lot of work that is annoying and tedious and unfortunately happens, but it's just a pain in the neck.
And C, make sure you collect all of the information that you possibly can. The more info, the more pictures, the better. It'll prevent any issues down the line.
Regardless, hopefully you keep this knowledge in the back of your brain to help out a friend, a family member, something along those lines if they're ever in an accident. And be sure to check out this video again if you ever need a reference as well.
That's going to be it for this video. If you found this video helpful, make sure you hit the like button. If you're not, definitely subscribe.
This is The Burnout Show, and we come out with content like this all the time to help people like you do things with cars by yourself or with others to influence you to do more and enjoy more about this subject.
Thank you for watching, and I hope this helped. And then you'll get your car back and move on with your life. But, come on,
Sorry,
keep it together.
Move on with your life.
All right, so right here we have this brand new 2021 white Dodge Challenger, which is actually a rental car.
Dude, it's a Charger.
Damn it!
It's literally a Charger.
Bro, every time I talk about his Challenger, I say Charger, and now that he's got a Charger, I say Challenger.
It's a Charger.
Ugh. All right, run it back.
That was awesome. I was like, yeah, you got the intro.